Hey, folks, welcome back to a new episode of Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors. I'm your host, Jacob Robery, and I'd like to welcome you all in this week, guys. We are now just a couple of weeks away from teal season opening up, and I know a lot of you guys are getting fired up. You're ready to get going. It is now the best time of the year, in my opinion. You've heard me say that before, but hunting season is upon us. We have dove season opening up, and we're headed right into teal season right after that, guys. So thank you so much. I know you guys, like I mentioned, are fired up probably like we are. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to join us this week on a new episode. As I'm excited because I have another guest on with us this week, Mr. Jay Thomas with Blind Grass Camo Systems. We're going to be bringing Jay in here in a second to introduce himself to all of you. And we're going to kind of find out about his products, guys, what he has to offer, which is very unique in the market for waterfowl hunting. And I'm excited to get to talk to Jay, and I'm sure you guys are going to be interested to hear what he has to say. So let's go ahead and bring Jay in again, and we're going to get started here, guys. All right, good morning, Jay. How are you this morning?
Good morning. We good. And you?
Good. Doing really well, buddy. Doing really well. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. It's an honor to have you on the show. And for all of our listeners, I was just kind of giving a brief introduction to who you are. But if you don't mind, introduce yourself, your name, and who you are and who you're with.
All right, Jay Thomas. We're in Lafayette, and the company name is Blind Grass Camouflage Systems.
All right.
We make synthetic grass for duck blinds, goose pits, goose blinds. A lot of people started using them for turkey now, and got people using them for deer blinds now. It's a fully synthetic grass product. This is the color. We got 3 different colors. This is I can't see where I'm going on. Fall blend to get it on the screen, which is kind of some browns and tans. Works really well in the marsh and timber and a lot of places like it. And then we have a rice, kind of a dead rice, Johnson grass color. Also, it works in the cornfields up north. And then we have a green, we'll call it a winter green, which is a couple of different colors of green. Great for teal season or any levees or any place you hunt that still's got green. It's a fully synthetic product, so it doesn't rot, doesn't mildew, doesn't get wet, doesn't hold water. It's going to last for years and years. It doesn't shine. Has no bad things to go along with it.
Yeah, and that's what caught my attention, Jay. Like whenever I came across your company on social media, man, a lot of guys out there promoting the product because they've had a lot of success with it. They've really had, they had guys that said that they've been using the product on a blind for 4 or 5 years and it still looked like the day they bought it. And that really caught my attention because the old traditional products that we had out there were your typical fast grass, all that type of stuff, which, hey, if you travel, if you're a bow blind guy and you're traveling down the road, you're going 65, 70 miles an hour, you falling behind one of those guys, you see all the grass flying off the blind. And man, you're lucky to make it through a year, Jay, on your blind with something like that, the old traditional stuff. And then on top of that, like you mentioned something, your product doesn't mildew like, the traditional fast grass does. You get that old mildew that it holds a lot of moisture inside the old traditional fast grass. And with your product, with blind grass, it doesn't do any of that stuff, man. And that's what really caught my attention and sparked my interest in looking into what you had and contacting you. And it seems like you had a lot of happy customers out there.
We have not had a single customer that want to return the product. Everybody's been real. The biggest description we've had actually is people say it's a game changer, the way they do things. When we first started, I wanted to be in the big stores, and all the stores and sell retail. And I would send it out to some of the big stores, send them samples. And some of them said stuff like, the problem with this, it doesn't disintegrate after a year, meaning they don't sell it year after year after year.
They can't go through enough of it quick. They need people to repurchase it.
Yeah. So I kind of thought our business plan again and said, we were getting a lot of online sales. And I said, I think I don't want to be in stores, maybe a couple of local stores, but I really want to just do it totally we sell direct to customers. We started using it a few years ago to test it out. We got some samples made. I'd go out in the field and I would paint it, different colors to try to get the kind of colors we wanted. I wanted to make sure it was going to hold up. It wasn't going to shine. Kind of thinking everything. I didn't want it too brittle, but I didn't want somebody poking an eye. Because like we use saltgrass here a lot of times on blinds, and it holds up really well, but it'll poke the hell out of you. I know somebody that went to the doctor or the hospital because they poked their eye, and somebody poked their eardrum.
Wow.
So once we started selling it, and people, start buying it around the country, and then especially people up north with boat blinds, and when a lot of people started calling for the boat, getting it for the boat blinds, and they started calling me or texting, or so we get different messages, and it's just phenomenal because it doesn't get wet. It doesn't add a bunch of weight to our blinds. It doesn't get heavy, and it doesn't freeze. When the people up north, we don't experience that stuff. They said it gets so wet up there, and it starts getting cold, and that stuff starts freezing. All of a sudden, they got hundreds of pounds more weight on their boat. We had a guy they said he used raffia grass because they got it sent to them, so they promote it.
Yeah.
He said it almost killed him because it gets stringy, it starts falling off. It got stuck. It stuck up to Bill's pump, and they couldn't go. They couldn't get water out the boat. Lake Erie, 4-foot waves almost killed them.
Yeah.
So it's also a safety issue.
Correct. I could see that. Yeah, on those big water reservoirs like that, Jay, you get all that water coming in those boats. You need those bilge pumps working as good as they can be, I guess. Yeah, that could be a life-threatening situation.
Yeah, we don't really know. We don't have that problem around here with the freezing. Very rarely we get anything. But a guy sent me a video 2 years ago when it got really, really cold. And he was somewhere in Oklahoma or somewhere, and it had like -4 degrees and 9 inches of snow and sleet. And he was going out on his boat. He just went outside and he was filming it. And he was taking the blind grass. The snow was just coming off of it. And he was taking it and he was bending it back and forth and doing all this stuff. And that -4 degrees, and it wouldn't break or nothing. The snow was just falling off of it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And I heard you tell a story. I think it was on another interview you did about they were using it to actually tie something together. What was that about? Like it was so strong, the material, that they were using it to tie to use it as a support or something you had mentioned?
Yeah, some other people use it like to tie it up on stakes and stuff.
Yeah.
But the best one we had was some guys were hunting in a field, and they had one of those panel blinds with 4 mats on it in the truck. They didn't have too good of tires on the truck. Had a 4-drop truck, and they got spinning in the field, so that they couldn't get out. So they took 2 of the mats off of the panel blind, put them up under the back wheels, spun out of there, and then took them, washed off the mats, and put them back on the panel blind.
Wow. Yeah, that's some pretty durable stuff then.
Yeah, because it's they're wired. It comes in the bundle grass like I was showing, and then the mats. These are rolled up, but the mats are sewn. We have 4-foot high mats and 33-inch high mats. These mats are sewn. It's a rubber coated zinc wire, so it doesn't rust, and it is sewn like 14 inches from each end, so the grass will still stand up. So that comes in all 3 colors. But yeah, we haven't had any complaints. We've been very fortunate. No bad Facebook comments, which people are like to do.
Hey, I got an important question to ask you. I know Jay asked me yesterday, for all of you listening, he said, is this going to be audio on the podcast? He said, or is this going to be video? And I said, well, it's actually going to be both. And Jay, I laughed. Me and my wife were reading the comment when you responded. You said, okay, well, I'm going to wear my pants. I'm going to make sure I got my pants on tomorrow. And I started laughing immediately. And she's like, what are you laughing at? I said, Jay responded back to me. I said, and he said, okay, well, if it's on video, we're going to go ahead. We're going to make sure I got my pants on tomorrow. And I responded back to you. I said, yeah, please make sure you either got some shorts or some pants on. I don't want to see you pants. So I got to ask you, do you have your pants on today?
I definitely got pants on, yeah.
All right. Well, good. I thought we'd just kind of laugh about that. I had to mention it to you because, boy, you had me rolling when you responded back. And I read it and I looked back at it and I read it again and I started laughing. I said, I'm going to like Jay. I said, whenever we get tomorrow to get to talking. And man, good old that, that's what I love about South Louisiana and just, Louisiana in general, Jay. I mean, the guys down here, we get a lot of, people that come from up north and they'll come down here and they'll hunt with us. And I'm sure you've had friends from, out of state come in and hunt. And one of the biggest things that they always talk about is how much they enjoy coming to Louisiana because it's just the camaraderie that we have, the hospitality that we have here in Louisiana. And in your opinion, what sets Louisiana apart from other areas? Why do you think people are so intrigued to come down here and make a hunt in Louisiana? Why is that a destination spot for them?
Even though our hunting it's not like it used to be. I mean, it's just like it's like I said, it's the camaraderie and the experience that we make it. It's the cooking. Everybody around knows that we'll cook anything and make a gravy out of anything. And it's just everybody comes and enjoys the stories we got, and it's a different atmosphere around here. We got the marsh and we got rice fields, and it's just a totally different thing. I got a lot of a lot of podcasts to do. They always ask me about the cooking. Everybody wants to come down here and eat.
The food. Yeah, the food always comes up. When I've done some podcasts with other people that hosted them, and they always want to ask about the food. Hey, what do you like? Do you cook jambalaya? How do you cook your gumbo and all this stuff? And they always captivated by the food. That's definitely something that they tend to mention. And then also about they real interested nowadays in the waterfowl hunting, how it's changed over the years. Because, when they hear all the stories like we used to hear from our grandfathers and their grandfathers of how good the waterfowl hunting was here in Louisiana at one point in time. And they always ask, hey, how is it now? I see you guys saying that you struggle now. And Jay, you a little bit older than me probably. You've experienced, a different time frame than I did, which I'm 43 years old. I was lucky enough to grow up, coming up in the 80s hunting with my dad when we were still able to shoot lead at that time. All that type of stuff before it changed. But how has it changed? I'm curious to know because I ask everybody, and you being from Louisiana, it's always interesting to hear the comments. How have you seen waterfowl hunting change from when you started waterfowl hunting to where we are nowadays?
First of all, you better watch that statute of limitations on that lead shot.
I had it wrong. When was that? That was in the when did we outlaw lead? That was in the late 80s?
When I was a kid. And I'm a bit older than you.
Was it? Okay, I'm way off on that.
I think you're good on the statute limit. I don't think they can come get you now.
It seems like I remember them hunting lead and it was in the 80s, but no.
You may have been hunting lead.
We may have been outlawing and I didn't know it as a kid. They may have been.
Your grandfather was still hunting lead. He probably was, yeah.
Yeah, probably so. You're probably right about that. But how has it changed? How has it changed since when you started? Like, go back to your childhood. Have you been waterfowl hunting as a child, or was that something you got involved in? Because growing up where you grew up in Lafayette. Yeah, I think y'all hunt a lot of the Gaydon area. That is a historically famous area of Louisiana for waterfowl hunting. So when you first started, or when did you get into waterfowl hunting? Let me ask you that.
Well, as soon as I could go to the blind with my dad, it was as soon as I could start going, I went, and we even before I could hold a gun, my dad was he was a big quail hunter. My grandfather was a big duck and goose hunter, but he was older, but I only had one grandfather living, and he couldn't really hunt back then. He had heart problems. But he would tell me, I'd go over to his house and he'd tell me all the stories, and I was just enthralled. I was just eating up with it. I still am, man. I'm Opening day, I can't. Opening night, I can't sleep the night before. I'm still like a kid. So, and then you're going with my dad and my brother and I. We would hunt just, whatever we could. If it was, when we had a chance to go shoot one duck, we'd go out there. But it's changed so much. Crawfishing is a huge deal. Back, 15 years ago, White Lake used to hold just a ton of ducks and geese. Mallards, pintails, speckled, BP or Amoco gave it to it used to be Amoco, then it was BP. They gave it to the state, and the state, of course, screwed it all up. Didn't take care of the levees. So instead of, ducks and geese like water that's this deep, now it's 4 feet deep, 3 feet deep. They're not going to go. So they don't hold near the amount of ducks and geese out there. Ducks Unlimited is putting some money back into White Lake to try to fix that up. And then the crawfish farming. I mean, it's just, you got people running traps, running. It's a deeper water. They're making deep water in the for the crawfish.
And you bring up a good point, Jay, not to cut you off right there, but crawfish farming, that's something that don't get talked about a lot. So how do you see crawfish farming changing the landscape, or how is it affecting waterfowl hunting here in Louisiana or anywhere where they're crawfishing?
Well, it's deeper. The water's deeper, and the ducks and geese don't want that. The good ducks, the mallards, the pintails, the teal, the speckled bellies. And you got somebody running traps all the time. They're disturbing the ducks and geese running traps. Now they're going in Gaydon area and around this area. They go into air boats to check the crawfish traps, and those things make a huge racket. Yeah. We just last year in my blind, 300 yards from it, the guy would come start the airboat 7 o'clock every morning, let it sit there and run for 30 minutes.
Really? Yeah, that'll definitely mess up a hunt.
They, the crawfish farmer, they'll go shoot the geese out your field to get them out. They'll set up crawfish those cannons, propane cannons, to shoot them out.
Yep.
It sounds like a young war out there sometimes. They got 5 cannons set up there, set to 15-second intervals. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
You can't work a goose to that.
No. It's like constant hunting pressure on those birds. That's what they thinking.
Yeah, and I got a friend. It's a guy there in Gaydon. He pays $10,000 for a field for a blind. Bring his customers. Well, his farmer's going out and shooting the geese out the afternoon before. He's going to take customers to go hunt.
Wow.
It's just like they're constantly getting harassed. You don't drive down Highway 14 from Kaplan to through Gaydon, through Lake Arthur to Thornwell and see just a gajillion and geese like you used to see. Used to be littered. They used to be littered on the roads.
Yeah, when you'd head that way, you used to see them off of the interstate. You'd see birds. Now you're right, Jay. You don't see that a whole lot.
No, and I got to get a charge.
And that's okay. So yeah, while he gets that, guys, Jay's right. I mean, the thing about that is that, when you used to head down the interstate, I-12 here in Louisiana, you would see geese just piled in those fields. And nowadays it's completely changed. And, I know we talk a lot about Southeast Louisiana, hunting the marshes here in Louisiana on the show a lot. But, it's great to get that perspective from somebody that's hunting the western portion of the state, where they could come in and give us their insight to stuff like this, And it's something that's completely changed over the years. And I think what Jay's saying there is it brings up a really good point that, that has changed. And I want to ask your opinion, Jay, on that. What is it from the farmer's perspective, the crawfish farmer's perspective, that they're trying to, or is it because of the ducks and geese, they're eating the young crawfish and they're trying to keep them out of those ponds? What's the correlation there?
They eat everything. They eat the young crawfish. They eat the crust. They eat the things the crawfish feed on. They They eat the cover for the crawfish.
Okay.
So it's just kind of a bad melting pot, but they still want that check for that duck blind.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, what's the average price nowadays? People ask me that all the time, and I've been out of the rice field hunting now for a while. But what are blinds going for in that portion of the state? Like a rice field blind, crawfish field blind? What on average? Do you have any idea? I know you mentioned something about a buddy was leasing one for 10 grand, you know?
It depends on where you're at, but 10 grand to have for one to have water and buffer load is going to be about 10 grand.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy, you know, and not to have and to have to compete, like you mentioned, Jay, with somebody who's trying to keep the birds off of their property. That's hard for a guy to go get into a lease and do that. Or like in your situation with your buddy, he's trying to take, you know, clients out there. I mean, that's a constant battle that they must be facing.
Yeah, that's his living.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's guiding and taking clients out there.
Yeah, and I don't see that ending. I mean, it's getting worse and worse. Like I mentioned, airboats. Good God, those things are loud.
Yeah, because airboats, I had no clue. Now, back when I was hunting the rice fields, they had the old traditional wheel style that would push through the crawfish ponds, the paddles. That's right, the paddle boats, and that's what we were used to. And that was you know, bad enough. But now you got an airboat going through a crawfish pond that you trying to duck hunt next to, and that's and then the cannons, like you mentioned. I had guys hunting with me before, and they're like, "Man, what's that sound going off?" You know, we'll be hunting maybe a timber break or something next to ag fields. And that's what it is. These propane cannons now that they're putting in there, and it's just trying to keep these birds off of these areas.
Yeah, and it's impossible. You know, it's hard enough to work speckled bellies, but you got a cannon going off next to you. It's just, I had a bunch coming into the field a few years ago. We had a place in Thornwell, and I go over and gonna hunt that afternoon, bring somebody, and they'd set up the adjacent farmer on the next landowner. He'd put up, I think it's either 5 or 6 cannons.
Really?
And they were set like at 15-second intervals, and we had to go home because there's just no way to hunt.
Yeah, yeah, you can't compete against that. So, you know, in your area too, Gaydon, all that area, we talked about ducks a little bit, but probably one of the biggest areas for goose hunting, right?
Yeah.
As far as that, let's touch on that a little bit, because that's something I haven't done in years. It's been years and years since I lived back home since I did that. But as far as species go, Jay, I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite? Guys that I talk to that spec hunt or they goose hunt and then they duck hunt, they kind of torn. They either one way or the other in most cases that I find. Are you more on the duck hunter side, or are you like going after specs and geese?
I mean, I love duck hunting. Love it with a passion, but I really speckled belly is it's totally different from me.
And I see you smile. For those of you watching on YouTube right now, I see you grinning, because that's what I'm talking about. I have buddies that were duck hunters, and then they got into some situations where they got on some good spec hunts, and they never went back after that. That they love spec hunting. If they have the choice, they're gonna spec hunt. What is it? What is it about that makes you kind of shift from one to the other? What's the passion there?
Speckled bellies are one bird that you can really call and really get, mallard drake is easy to call. Speckled belly, I'm not saying they're easy to call. They're very hard to call. They're hard to get in because they got eyesight like no other. They've been, anything, but by the time they get to us, they've been shot at and pissed on and called at since they've been in Canada, so they've heard it and seen it all. In Arkansas, they can go shoot speckled bellies. They'll set up in a blind, 12 people in a disc field in a panel blind that sits 5 feet out the ground, and they'll shoot limits of speckled bellies in minutes. You try that here, they won't come within 1,000 yards of one of those blinds around here. We got to be stuck in a pit with, around Gaydon, about every 600-700 yards, there's 4 coon that are sitting in a hole in the ground in a pit that have been blowing speck calls since they're 4 years old, and you got to compete with all that. So,
yeah, they
totally
pretty much seen it all.
But when you get specs that you can call and they You can really work them. It's such a big bird and such a big pretty bird, and they talk back to you. It's really something.
Yeah, yeah. As far as eating goes, is that the best to eat?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We talked about table fare a little bit. Specs from what the ones I've eaten in the past, I have to say, in my opinion, they were phenomenal. That's phenomenal table fare.
Yeah, I smoked some a while back, and man, they were just delicious. I had some guys over for a little party, men's night, and they were so good. And there's so many different ways to cook them. I mean, I know my grandfather rolled over his grave. He saw me breast and specs, but they take up so much freezer room. I don't have all that room for them. And when we do, bro, I mean, I always take the legs too, but in like a spec gumbo, there's nothing comparable. I mean, my family, they don't want a seafood gumbo anymore. They don't want a chicken gumbo. All they want is a spec gumbo.
Really?
It's such a deep, dark, rich flavor. The flavor is nothing close to it.
I agree with that. It is good, and I've eaten it in a gumbo several times, and it gives it a unique flavor. It's just it's hard to explain what it tastes like, but it's a unique flavor. You know, it's spec, and it's phenomenal. It's excellent in a gumbo. You know.
Yeah, it's like I'll make a spec and andouille, and sometimes a little oyster gumbo.
That sounds good.
Oh yeah, duck gumbo is not even close to it.
No.
And I used to love duck gumbo.
Yeah, yep. And you know, you said I laughed a little bit because you said your grandfather he'd roll over. You know, back then, I'm assuming you mean pot roasting them. You know, cooking them whole.
Oh yeah.
That's how everybody did it, man. Growing up where I grew up, even now, all my buddies from Ville Platte, all that area that we grew up hunting together, when they see me breast a duck, they're like, "Man, what the hell are you doing?" They're like, "Man, you don't breast a duck. You don't do it that way, you know." And there's so many. That's what's so unique. We talked about that briefly. Is all the different ways of cooking, and I'm open to that. Some guys get really offended by that, you know, because that's the way their grandfathers did it. That's the way they do it. That's the only way to do it. What I like is that I like getting different influences from other people and how they do it, and it just opens up the possibilities for so many different recipes, so many different flavors, and that type of stuff. And that's really something that I look forward to. But yeah, back in the day, that's all they did, Jay. They were pot roasting them, and if you didn't do that, man, you know what the hell are you doing?
Oh yeah, that was it. I mean, but you know, in a spec breast, it's such a big piece of meat. You know, you can cook it on the pit, and then you save the legs, put in a gumbo. I won the Gaydon the 2 years I did the Gaydon Duck Festival cook-off. I won it both times with made a speck belly grillades and over grits and speck belly grillades.
Oh, I've never had that, but it sounds good.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. So it's just so many different ways you can do it. You know, you can put them in strips and fry them, make fajitas. Anything you can do with beef, you can do with a duck or goose.
Yep. Well said. Well, teal season, man. We're getting close to teal season now, so let's touch on that a little bit. I know. Do you teal hunt for early teal season?
Oh yeah.
I bet you do. In that area, you better be teal hunting because that's a phenomenal time of year for it. So what's it looking like?
We're gonna shoot is teal season, and we pretty much, you know, the Gaydon area, all that area through there in the rice country, you pretty much should be able to put a mollywopping on them during teal season.
Is that the best duck hunting of the year in that area?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, teal season. That's right.
Yeah.
It is now, huh? Yep. So how's it looking? Have you been out there? Y'all been brushing up some blinds and stuff like that?
No, we my farm is gonna buffalo this week, and they've been stopping it up, you know, trying to get as much rainwater as they can so they don't have to use diesel fuel for the pumps. But I've seen some people posting some videos where a bunch of teal are around, and they say there's a bunch. You know, I don't really want them to show up too early because usually if they're there 3 weeks early, I don't get a chance to blast on them because they can be gone by then.
That's right. Yeah, you bring up a good point there. We talked about that last week. I had some reports here on the eastern side, southeast side of the state, and like I told one of the guys, I said, man, that's great. We seeing them. I said, but you don't want them here too early because blue wings are different, man. They like you said, they're here today and they can be gone tomorrow. Any kind of temperature change, they're real finicky when it comes to that. You don't want to have them too early. You want them to show up right around that perfect time frame when we open up.
Yeah, I've always found they're the most fickle bird there is.
Yeah.
So they're a delicious bird. That's the reason I don't have a bunch of other stuff to pot roast because we shoot so many teal during teal season. We save those up and pot roast them all. Well, like that Saturday night, we have a deal at our camp that every night's dinner, Friday and Saturday night has to be something that was either caught or shot.
Okay,
so,
that's a great idea.
That Saturday night will be pot roasting teal.
So you mentioned the camp. Fill me in. Where's because you live in Lafayette, correct? And you hunt in Gaydon? Is that where the camp is?
Yeah, it's just a little farmhouse, just in between Lake Arthur and really in between Klondike there off Highway 14 and in Gaydon.
It's a good area.
It's just it's strange just because it must have been, I don't know how old this house is, but it was when all the people here were really small because the shower hits me about in my chest. So I've got to to take a shower, I got to do a limbo, get my head wet back there.
You need a little seat to sit on, almost like a handicap seat or something, something like that. Yeah. And so how old is the farmhouse? I mean, do y'all know how old exactly it is? Kind of the history on that?
No, I don't know.
You're not sure?
I don't know.
That's pretty cool though. That it's like those old farmhouses like that, those old camps. Like down here, as we get into the marshes, we'll get into those. You'll see some of those old camps that are now abandoned. They used to be these duck hunting clubs. We got one not too far right here in Maurepas Swamp, not too far from where I'm at. And man, like all the ceiling tile and everything, it was built out of old cypress, Jay. And it's so cool, man, the way they designed all that stuff. They even had like the dog kennels where they built it all out of old cypress, and all the kennels were built out of that old cypress. And they had them out there so they'd keep their dogs in there, whether they were running deer or rabbits or whatever they were using them for.
Oh, wow. And
it's just so cool to see those old camps and farmhouses and stuff like that. Because I'm a big history buff. I like kind of finding out the history of that stuff. But how long have y'all had it? Let me ask you that. Is it you that owns it, or is it a group of y'all that own the camp?
No,
together?
I rent it each year. I mean, I've been renting it for 3 years.
Okay.
Okay. It is nothing fancy. It's strictly a duck camp.
Yeah.
We rent it and rent it for all year, but after duck season, I'm not back there.
Yeah. Hey, we the same way. We got a camp over not too far from you. We over in Whiskey Bay. We got one on the levee right there that butts up the Sherburne Wildlife Management area. And that's how we operate ours. We use it basically for hunting season. We rent it for the year. It's nothing fancy. It's a good, comfortable place to take a shower, sleep. But we're there to hunt. That's what we use it for. I tell guys, I say, it's not something when I say, hey, you want to come to the camp and make a hunt? I say, it's nothing extravagant, but it's something that's comfortable. You can lay your head. You can wash your ass. You can eat good food, and we're going to go hunt and have a good time. And that's what it's all about at the camp for us,
Yeah, it's exactly in here. It's we spend most of the time outside by the fire, and even during teal season we'll have a campfire.
Well, you need it. You need it for the mosquitoes.
Yeah, for true. But it's funny about this house because it's so old. It doesn't have hardly any like in the kitchen. It doesn't have it in the whole house. It doesn't have any electrical plugs because back then they didn't have different stuff to plug in. They didn't have coffee pots they plugged in and all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
We got extension cords and outlets running all over the place.
Running all over. A giant ass fire hazard, pretty much, is what you say.
Oh yeah, and we got smoke alarms everywhere.
You probably need some good smoke alarms then if that's the case. No, but that's cool. I mean, that's going back to the old ways, the way they did it back in the day, and y'all getting to experience a little piece of that, you know. And I think that's awesome. That's part of history. That's the way it was, you know. So that is pretty cool.
That owned it before, they must have been about 3 feet tall or so.
It sounds like it from the shower situation you got. Yeah, you turn it on the shower and it's hitting you down there in the lower parts and your man parts pretty much is what it sounds like. All that area gets cleaned up pretty good then.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. So you heard some good reports on teal. That sounds like that's promising in the area. I know we heard some reports here. So far, so good. Knock on wood. We've been good. No major storms. Nothing like that happening, man. Let me ask you about that. You know, the last several years in your area over there, I know Lake Charles got hit real hard by hurricanes over the last several years. Did y'all see that affected where you hunt at from the storms that came through over the last several years? Did that play any kind of factor into what y'all saw as far as birds coming down or habitat?
No, I don't think it didn't really hurt. You know, it dumped a bunch of rain. You know, at the camp we lost some parts off the roof. Now in the marsh, they lost a bunch of cover. You know, because it blew down all the roseau and stuff there. Between, let's say, Pecan Island to, well, really, I guess Marsh Island to Texas. Yeah. But not in the rice fields. We didn't have that much though.
Yeah, didn't affect y'all too much.
Yeah, we got real lucky with storms the last few years.
Well, that's good. That's good. I know on the Lake Charles side, it affected them quite a bit. And then last year when we had the hurricane hit, it hit more on our end on the eastern part of the state. That really affected us. But you know what's crazy? And I've mentioned this before, Jay, but on our end, like it totally changed the marshes down here. You know, because the marshes, what I find it did is some areas of the marsh, like, you know, it ruined it completely as far as habitat went last year. But then other areas, it kind of transformed some of the dead areas, like up around Manchac, you know, up around Lake Pontchartrain, those freshwater marshes. It kind of purged those systems. It opened up some of those areas that had been clogged up where at one time years ago they were open. They had duck ponds, and then the grass eventually took over and clogged all that up. And it basically just picked a lot of that stuff up and opened all those marshes back up a little bit. So it ended up helping several people I know last year when they hunted some of those freshwater marshes and those brackish marshes. And this year going in and scouting, I went scouting a couple of weeks ago. Man, the food that it brought back this year, it opened up some of that. I think those, you know, the sunlight, having a good summer with no major storms, it brought back a lot of good food sources in the marsh this year. So I'm looking forward to being able to hunt that side of the state this year, because I think it's going to really be good as far as the food sources coming back and we're kind of rejuvenating those areas, you know.
Well, that's good news about the food in the marsh, because that'll really help. That'll hold a bunch of birds. You know, you mentioned earlier about the things that have changed too. Besides just the farming and the crawfish and stuff, things change. You know, back when I was a kid, Oklahoma didn't have ducks. We used to go out to West Texas. We're out bird hunting out there, you know, Abilene area and stuff. There weren't geese out there then. Now it's huge goose hunting. But they had ducks. They had these tanks that had ducks. Mm-hmm. But nobody out there knew what they were. We had a game warden stop us one time. We had pintails. He didn't know what pintails were.
The game warden didn't know what pintails were?
I mean, we used to put a molly whooping on some ducks on those tanks.
Really?
But you had to do it, you know, real early in the morning. Because they came in there, they go to those peanut fields and eat, and they come in there, they get thirsty, want a drink of water, and come in there early in the morning. But yeah, they didn't know, nobody duck hunted out there. They didn't know anything about ducks.
Wow.
And now that's a good area out there. Same with Oklahoma. Yeah. But we don't see robins like we used to see.
Good point. We talk about that every year. It seems like every year there's less and less of them. But I remember as a kid, you know, you'd wake up and you had a good cold morning, you know, and they were out in the front yard. They were hopping around, feeding, you know, doing all that stuff. And now, Jay, it's not, I mean, you don't even see them come down here to Louisiana hardly anymore.
I don't know what, you know, I know weather has a lot to do with it seems like we don't get cold until real late in the season or after the season now.
Yeah.
So it's just hard to tell. Like last year, I hope it doesn't do like last year where we get all this rain and right before duck season we don't get any more rain because we didn't get
Correct. Yeah, because it's such a fine. That's right. It's such a fine line because we need the rain, but you don't want too much rain like it was, several years back. I forgot what year it was. It had rained all year long. We had a El Nino winter, they called it, or whatever. And there was so much water that the ducks had. I mean, it was hard, especially us as public land hunters moving around. The ducks had so much area to go to. That's what I'm trying to say, is that it made it tough to hunt. So it's a fine line. You need the water, but you don't want too much water. And I know that's hard to understand if you've never hunted down here, but that's kind of the way it is. You want that water, but then like you say, last year we had the rain and then it stopped, and it's like we didn't rain at all through the season, hardly at all.
Yeah, because I had my goose blind, I didn't flood. They couldn't flood it. And I said, well, I'll just wait on, get some rain. Because a lot of those goose fields, you just want it like a little muddy, nasty. Geese like that. Makes
chopped
it
up.
Easy to feed, pull up stuff. And it was dry all year.
Yeah, it was dry. Yeah, it's crazy how that works. I don't know. They're saying it's going to be another dry winter from what I heard so far, but I don't know. Looking at it like it is now, it's raining every damn day, like we mentioned. So you just don't know, man. I mean, we always laugh. That's the only profession that you could screw up 100% of the time and still keep a job as a weatherman. And if we rely on the weatherman, we'd never leave the house to go do anything. So,
and they just don't get any better. They just don't get any better. Like the other morning, I woke up at 4:00 in the morning, looked at my weather channel deal, and it said 17% chance of rain all morning. Yeah. And only 17. It rained 3 times hard before 10 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah. They don't know.
It wasn't supposed to rain. It rained. We got almost 3 inches in an hour. Yeah. I went hunting last year. I like a little wind when I'm goose hunting, and it said it was blowing 19 miles an hour currently on the Weather Channel. Yeah. And I videoed the Johnson grass, and it was just bone still. It just still as could be,
Not even moving.
Not moving a bit at 19 miles an hour.
Oh, that's crazy.
But you try to go fishing, and they say calm, and you get out there, and it's 15, 20.
It's blowing its ass off. I know.
Oh,
I know how that is. Yep, it's crazy, man. It's so frustrating, but I mean, you just. Like I tell my son, my youngest son, I say, you just got to go. You just got to go because if you're banking on all that stuff, just go and kind of prepare. That's all you could really do, That's all you could.
Yeah, the problem is, I fish either Grand Isle, which, is a track for us to get to, or here Vermilion Bay, which the fishing doesn't normally get good till this time of year. And I go out of Delcom there, so it's like a 15-minute run down the canal to get to the bay.
Yeah.
Well, expensive as gas is now, you fill up that bay boat and get down there, and it's supposed to be calm, and you get 15 mile an hour winds in Vermilion Bay, you got big waves.
Yeah.
So you just turn around and go back. So
yeah, you don't want to take that on. It's too dangerous at that point.
Yeah. Well, in a good bay boat, it's okay, but it's just you get wet. Just pounding.
Yep. Well, Jay, let me ask you this. I know y'all hunt mostly like that Gaydon area, stuff like that. Do you ever take any trips outside of the state or anymore? I know you mentioned y'all used to go to Texas or any other areas. Do you ever go to Venice, any of those areas down in the state?
I get invited on some trips. Usually go to South Texas, hunt ducks over there at somebody's place. I'll go down hunt the marsh around Lake Arthur a few times. Go to South Arkansas a few times. Buddy of mine's got a place up there. But just don't get the time, to travel a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I got, guys asking me to go out sand hill crane hunting and goose hunting in West Texas, and I just don't know if I'm gonna have time this year. My main problem right now is getting stock. We've been selling stuff like crazy, and we just can't get. We've had an order. Our next shipment's supposed to be here 1st of August, and now they're saying it's not even going to be in port until September 4th.
Yeah, supply chain issues. Everybody's dealing with it, man. It's changed. I'm in the marine industry. I sell boats for a living, and it has, I've been doing this a long time professionally, and it's changed the game for us tremendously in the last 2 years. And I talk to other people in every other industry, and they experiencing the same thing, and unfortunately in your situation, when you have a niche, as far as, hey, this product needs to be delivered by this time of year because you only got a small window, that's got to be frustrating,
Oh, it's awful, because we came out with this new roll-up teal blind that's just so easy to do, sets up in minutes, weighs like 12, 14 pounds, depending on how long it is. And at the end of the teal season, you roll it up, put it in your shed or something, you got it for the next 20 years probably. I don't know how long it'll last, but it's going to last a long time. And we sold out in no time. I ordered a bunch of, back in, late April, I ordered a bunch of green to come in, which we're going to get after, too late to sell for teal season this year.
Yeah.
And we've been out of bundle grass for months now. And people, I don't know how many phone calls I get per day or messages. When you going to have it in? So, well, it's supposed to have been in.
And people you can't give an honest answer because you had the mercy of the manufacturers and the distributors and whoever else you're dealing with, So, yeah, it's frustrating. And I think people people get agitated with you when you have to give them that answer. But I think now it's become part of our society the last 2 years. People are kind of starting to understand it a little bit. They know, hey, it's not just you, as a business owner. It's not just Jay that can't get me the product. It's all over the place now, and that's just the way life has become.
But they understand, but the problem is we lose money.
Yeah.
Because we're losing all those. I had to turn down just one order, a $6,000 order just for teal blinds the other day.
Oh, yeah. And as a business, it's hard to survive when it's like that.
Yeah, because we still paying for this warehouse, even though it's empty.
Yeah.
So it's, people are they're very, very understanding, but we just don't have anything you can't get product in. And it's the shipping, and it's the problem. There's 20 to 30 boats stacked up outside Houston right now. They can't get in.
Yep. Yeah. We had a situation on the marine side. I had we deal with Yamaha motors and Mercury motors, and I had a sales rep for Yamaha. He was at our store visiting us, and he told us, he said, Jacob, he said, the thing is, he says, we have 4,000 motors plus. He said, sitting on the dock in Japan at the Yamaha factory. He said, and there's no shipping containers to load them onto because there's a shortage of shipping containers. He said, literally sitting on the docks in crates ready to go to the United States. He said, then if you're lucky enough to get them on a shipping container, he said, you get them, they sit off the coast of California, he said, for 2 months, 3 months, because he said the lack of workforce, there's people that aren't working on the docks to unload the shipping containers anymore. He said they don't want to go to work no more. So, that's incredible. It's changed society, this pandemic that we had hit 2 years ago. And, I laugh. I said the other day, I said, people already didn't want to go to work. I said, then the government started handing out the free money. They're really not going to want to go to work at that point, and that's a whole different story that we're not going to get into politics on. But, that's all plays into it, us from an outdoorsman and you as a businessman trying to sell a product, it affects everybody. It trickles down to everybody.
Yeah, it's killing us. We've been out of product for some of our products, like I said, for 4 months. And we got 2 more shipments coming in, which they told me one I could probably expect in October, which I think that's BS. We probably won't get it till December, January.
Yeah, they're just trying to make it sound good for you.
Oh yeah. But because we've been shipping, we ship all over the United States and we ship to Canada, and even got an order from Ireland yesterday.
Ireland, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible, man.
Nebraska football game, so they want to get into some grass or something.
So let me ask you that. So you talked about trying to get in. You were trying to get into the big box retail stores years ago, and I worked for Cabela's for almost 13 years. So I went through that situation with the big box stores and all that stuff. But most of your traffic nowadays, is it coming through your website? Is it coming through social media, word of mouth? Where does most of that traffic come from? Because I know, look, you sitting down doing a podcast with me today that's going out to listeners. So, you know, people are going to hear about the product that may not have known about the product. And my wife, she laughs. She says, why do y'all do these podcasts? Who wants to sit and listen to a podcast? And I laugh. I said, there's a lot of people that want to listen to a podcast. You could get in the truck, turn it on, and you could go down the road. And guys that are interested in the same stuff, we all want to hear other people's stories, you know. And but just that type of stuff.
That's Luke Bryan. It's they play on the radio 3,000 times a day.
That's right.
They don't play the good artists on radio. You know.
That's true. The old George Straits and George Jones and all that stuff. You don't get to hear all that no more. But
or even Turnpike Troubadours and Randy Rogers and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Some of that Texas country. So that's I agree. I love all that, man. That's what we listen to at the camp. You know, country gold.
Music that just never gets on the radio.
You don't get it on the radio. That's right. It's mainstream. But where's that traffic you find nowadays? What's influencing the traffic? Where's it coming from?
I mean, I hate to do it, but we do a lot on Facebook. We run some ads, which we can't advertise now because we don't have hardly anything in stock.
Yeah,
that's one thing that'll piss people off. You start advertising for something and they go to
you don't have it,
and there's nothing in stock.
Yep.
So.
But social media.
And last year we didn't have our main order was supposed to be in August. It didn't get here till the middle of December, so we really got stagnated last year.
Really?
But we get a lot of referrals. Like there's a website, I think Refuge Farm, something like that, and I'd never heard of it, and some people started calling or texting me saying you're getting a lot of people talk about you on this website. Uh-huh. I went and looked at that. So a lot of word of mouth. We had some guys in California get it, and I don't know how many orders we got from freaking Napa, California. And, just one guy would get it, and they'd show it to somebody else, and they show it to somebody else.
Word of mouth.
Going like that.
Word of mouth is powerful, Jay. Yeah, and you know that as a businessman, it is extremely powerful, man. Guys use the product, they see the product, other guys see the product, and it snowballs from there. And honestly, that's what's great about social media now, because it exposes so many more people, to the product. And that's how I came across you. And you were right here in my backyard in Louisiana. And I saw you on social media, and I started looking into it, and I was like, man, he took something so simple that we've been needing for years that every hunter could use no matter how you hunt. And he brought it to the market and is offering it now, and it's a better product than what's out there, And that's what intrigued me. And then I said, I got to reach out to you and talk to you. I wanted to get you on the show to tell your story because, man, I love promoting stuff, local guys here in Louisiana first and foremost. But, it's just I love talking to anybody who has an idea like that and brings it to market for everybody to have. So that's what sparked my interest in getting in touch with you and going from there with it. But social media has really changed the game. It really has, because if you're not using social media, no matter what generation you are, and that's always a big conversation. Well, the older generations, having to adjust to social media and all that. But with it being, for the most part, you still, I say free. It's really not free, but it is free. That's the way to advertise it. But if you're not using it, because it doesn't cost, what advertising, billboards, and all that type of stuff costs, digital media, then you're losing out, because there's a lot of traffic that's coming through there, word of mouth that gets shared, and all that type of stuff. And you got to be in that game nowadays, no matter what generation you're from, if you're a business owner.
Yeah, it really does. And then we didn't see the first few years, we couldn't do any trade shows, hunting shows, because they didn't have any. Because we didn't have any product or coronas or COVID. Yeah. And then we did a few this year. We did the Ducks Unlimited Expo in Dallas, did the Delta Waterfowl in Little Rock, the National DU Convention in New Orleans, and then we had a rep do some up north this year. Mm-hmm. He has another product, and he said he just carries some other stuff to show. But it's funny, at the shows, the main thing people would walk, we had a panel blind with the blind grass on it. and guys would walk up and they'd feel it. And they go, "Oh, I thought that was real." That's how real it is. You know?
That's when you know it's good.
So, you know, getting out and doing some shows that help people get out there and see it that they couldn't see it. But it's just crazy the size of orders that people. When we first started, people would buy like 8 pounds of bundle grass. You know, 4 mats of this, and then now it's like it's crazy the amount of people that have sent in $1,000 order, never call us or anything, just big ass orders like that
coming in. Yep. Yeah. Well, that attests to you and the product, Jay. I mean, obviously they've heard good things about it. So, I mean, congrats, man, on it. And I wish you the best, a lot of success. You know, I know we're getting close to an hour of your time. I don't want to take up your entire Sunday, but man, I do want to take time to thank you for joining us this week, and all the listeners, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on audio. We appreciate Jay coming in this week, Jay. And man, I've been scrolling. I don't know if you were able to notice it, but if you watch it on YouTube, we've been scrolling the information on how to reach out to Jay. But for all of you who are listening on the audio, Jay, how can they get in touch with you as far as placing orders or just reaching out if they got questions about the product?
Our Facebook is Blind Grass. Instagram is Blind Grass Camo. Phone number is 337-257-0318. Email is sales@blindgrass.com. I think that's all our ways. I mean, and if you don't get an answer on a on a message, or because we get Facebook message, Instagram message, all kinds of different stuff, you know, holler back, because sometimes I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, can't sleep, and I'll read the message. I don't want to respond to somebody because I don't want to wake them up. So then I forget to go back we forget to go back and get it home. So all those different ways we got. And I need to send you a goodie bag because I really appreciate you bringing us on. I'm gonna get you. This is one of our other thing besides grass. We have a few other products. This is how do we get on there? Our dry shell bag.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
I can't figure out how to get.
Yeah, I know when you're on the screen, everything's opposite. So
yeah,
there you go. We got you. For all of us watching on YouTube now. So, but yeah, you have a dry shell bag that's just a simple design. It looked like. But what I liked about that, Jay, to be honest with you, is you see a lot of wet, dry bags and stuff like that. But yours, it's clear. You can see through it, and I like that.
So you know what shells you got.
Yes.
So, you got one for 20 gauge, you got one for your goose load, you got one for 12 gauge. In fact, one of the large companies, decoys and stuff, they knocked ours off this year because I didn't get a patent on it because I didn't figure it was something patentable. But they knocked it off. But they didn't do theirs clear. In fact, they call it, ours a dry shot shell bag. They should call theirs a dry shot shell pouch.
Gotcha. They changed it up just enough to not have any issues.
But people's commented said, thing about it is yours is clear.
Yep.
Because how many times you take your shotgun shell, like we'll be teal hunting next week, a couple of weeks, you put your box of shells on the levee, which has gotten dewed on, and in a few minutes you got the shell the box is disintegrated, and your shells are all over the ground. Yep. Then they get wet, then they get rusted, then you're throwing dollar bills away. Yep. And these hold about 2 boxes of shells. It's got a little lanyard, a carabiner or a carabiner. I never know what that word is.
Yeah, me neither.
Hold it on something, and you just roll it up, keep your shells dry. Because I'm bad about going to camp, having a few beers, leaving all my stuff in the back of the truck. It rains and everything's wet. This way I don't lose my shells.
There you go. That's right. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, man, that's a great idea. It's see-through. And you fumbling through trying. By the end of the season, you got all kind of different gauges in there if you shot or different shots, and you're trying to figure out what you got in there. I like to be able to look through it. It's something so simple, but it's very useful, So that's a cool product, guys. And you got those in stock right now, Jay? Yeah,
we got good stock on those.
Yeah, guys, go check those out because that is something simple that you could use no matter how you hunt. It's I know most of us we use a Ziploc bag or something like that, but this is much better. This is it's a good quality build product. It looks like And it's something so simple. And if you're looking to give out, gifts with the holidays and stuff coming up, that's an excellent gift to give an outdoorsman, somebody who hunts. So go check them out on the website and get you a couple of those and get your buddy some.
Yeah, for less than $20. A box of shells is more than that.
That's right.
And I used to use Ziploc bags. I was the worst. I was, Ziploc. But hell, I'd still have them get torn. Torn. Yep. Shells getting rusted. And it's not safe shooting rusted shells.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's right. And you end up throwing them away and wasting money, like you mentioned, when they get too bad anyway, So that's a pretty cool product. But guys,
it's funny because I was sitting to say we don't ever get to any, we've rarely had any bad comments. And the only one I can think of is I put on Instagram about that dry shell bag. And some guy commented, that's a dumb idea. Why? I couldn't resist it. I couldn't let it go.
You had to ask, yep.
Yeah. So why? Because Ziploc bags are really inexpensive. I said, well, you can wear a trash bag for waders too.
Exactly.
A lot cheaper than waders.
That's right. That's a very good way to put it to him too. What did he respond to that?
Oh no.
No, I bet he didn't.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I know. The thing with growing and becoming more popular and people knowing about the product, you always say that. I talk to other podcasters and all digital media creators and influencers, and I say, hey, with the good, you always get a little bit of hate that's going to come with it. That's part of the nature of the beast nowadays. But you just keep doing what you're doing, and that's all you can do, man. That's all you can do. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah, like I said, I've been very, very fortunate because every time you put something out on social media, you stand a chance somebody's going to come make a stupid comment. And I can't stand even, we don't really have any competitors because nothing is like this product. But also, there's a company that does raffia grass, and people go in there and comment bad things about it. I said, man, these people are just trying to make a living, man. If you don't, just keep your comments to yourself unless that company has screwed you over personally.
Yeah.
Or you've tried to reach out to them and they don't fix it. Then maybe say something, but don't just go rip the company without just because you want to feel good about yourself.
Yeah, it's an opinion. It's an opinion, and at the end of the day, they're trying to sell a product, but it's a product that's trying to help us as outdoorsmen. So that's the way I see it. And I agree with you 100% on that. It's too many times you could get ripped for that type of stuff. But then again, like you said, when you put it out there, you always have that chance of it happening to you.
Yeah.
So, well, Jay, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate having you on, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. If you ever have any new product that you putting out there and you want to get it out, man, hit me up. We'd love to have you back on another episode, or even do it on. We could do something on YouTube, however you want to do it. But man, it's been a pleasure talking to you, sitting down with you. You're a great guy, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the time we spent together today. So thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming, for letting me come on and come make a hunt. We always hunting this year.
We'd love to, man. I got a 13-year-old who's ate up with it, and he ain't ever got his shot at Ricefield hunting yet. He didn't get to do that like I did growing up, and he's kind of curious about that. He's been asking me about it, and that may be something we have to hook up and do, man. I know he would love to do it. So if you have an opening, let us know. We'd love it. We'd love the opportunity.
Well, bring him on. I mean, he may learn a few bad words or something, but
it ain't any worse than he's learning in our duck blind. I promise you. I promise you that. But yeah, keep us posted, man. If you got something, you're looking for somebody, let us know. We'd love to make that trip.
All right, well, come on. We can make it work.
All right, man. Well, look, Jay, thank you so much, and we'll do it again soon, hopefully. But if there's anything else, like I said, that you wanna get out there, let us know. We're here for you.
Great. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. You have a good Sunday, Jay.
You too.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Well, guys, there you have it. Another episode with a phenomenal guy, man. I really enjoyed Jay, man. We talked before we even got on air on this episode, and that dude's he's a trip, man. He had me cracking up, and he's a jokester. He likes to play jokes, and he likes to have a good time, and that's what it's all about, man. That's what we all do. We all try to do, keep it light and keep it fun and everything. When I do these podcast episodes, I always tell my guests, I say, look, I don't go off of a script. We want to just have a sit down chat, like we would be sitting around the campfire at the duck camp or the hunting camp and just make it fun. Keep it light. You know, that way it takes the ease off of the guests. They enjoy it. They're a lot more relaxed, and we have a good time with it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. From the looks of it, you do. You enjoy that the way we do things here on these episodes of Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors, and we're going to continue to do that, guys. But great guests like Jay is what we look forward to bringing to you all season long as we get into another hunting season. And guys, you can also check them out on all their social media platforms. If you've been watching this on YouTube on this episode, they've been scrolling across the screen. Reach out to us if you need to get in touch with anybody that we have on the show. We'd be happy to put you in contact with them and get you over to any of these companies or these guests and be able to get you in touch with ordering some of the products that they offer, or just talk duck hunting. They all love to sit down and talk duck hunting like we do here every week and have a good conversation with you. So anytime, hit us up. We'd be happy to help you. And guys, don't forget to check out our social media platforms. Also, you can look us up on all of the major ones. YouTube, you might be streaming this episode on YouTube. So our YouTube channel, if you haven't liked and subscribed to our YouTube channel, guys, we'd appreciate it if you give us a thumbs up on this video. You hit that subscribe button, and we'd really appreciate it. We're trying to hit that 1,000 mark here in the next couple of months maybe, and keep going from there with it. So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and also TikTok. Jackson handles all our TikTok stuff for us. So check us out on our social media platforms. Also, guys, if you're looking for Last Stop Waterfowl merch, we had several of you reach out to us on that. You could go to our Instagram bio. We have a link in there. I got the new squirrel season coming up. I got the new squirrel hunter shirt that we put out there for all you small game hunters. I got that and much, much more. We have a link in our bio on Instagram, and also on our Facebook page, we have a link posted there as well. You can hit it up. It'll take you directly to our merch shop. You can order whatever you want, and it's shipped directly to your door, guys. It's pretty cool. We got some neat products on there. So go check that out as well. We'd appreciate it. But until next time, I'm Jacob with Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors, and that's all we have for you this week, guys. Y'all take care, and we'll do it again soon. Y'all take care.